Hello all. Hello all, and welcome to Movie Bears Podcast TV. Google Hangouts got the jump on me a little bit. I thought we'd already started, and apparently not. Welcome to the 22nd episode. Gee, many Christmas.
Wow.
22
We're in our 20s.
guys already. I know. That's right. That's right. We're almost old enough to rent a car. Almost, but not quite. But what episode of Movie Bears Podcast TV? It's a great little show, little offshoot of the Movie Bears Podcast, where we like to talk about things TV related. Because, come on, movies are great, but TV is kind of where it's at sometimes, I think. Game of Thrones versus Hercules, easy choice. But as usual, I'm joined by my co-host, Stephen Konchelik.
Hey, everyone.
And unfortunately, we are not joined by our other normal co-host, Casey Scott. He is unfortunately unavailable to us this evening. We are sending some love his way. We look forward to his return in a couple weeks. But we are joined by a very familiar face from the Movie Bears podcast, the delectable, the delicious, the something else that starts with a D, Will Lindis. Welcome to MBP TV.
Brad, thanks for giving me the D. Yeah, thanks. It's good to be here, listeners.
You're double D. Double D, Will. Double D.
Slipping me the D.
You know it. Yeah, so fun show for you guys this week. We're going to be talking about the newest episodes of Game of Thrones dun, 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 and Survivor. But we're also going to be kind of talking about some of the news coming out about what's canceled for next season and what's been renewed. And kind of interesting reading through this list of shows that did not make the cut. I am a little surprised as to some of these choices. Others, I'm like, wow, really? Like, that was not, a hard sell, I guess, at all to cancel that show. Let's talk about renewals first, though, guys. What are you happy to see renewed? Will, I already know you're going to say Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Steve, how do you feel about that one?
I'm really happy that Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. got renewed, only because I think I mentioned on one of our previous episodes that it has gotten really good in the past 10 episodes or so. It felt like they finally figured out how to integrate into the universe and really flesh out the characters and make a lot of their backstory worthwhile. So I've been really excited about what they've been doing and how they've been having some of the major movie characters jump into this world. And I'm expecting when we see more of the future movies that you'll see a lot more of the maybe TV small screen characters jump into the big screen. So I'm glad about that one.
Oh my gosh, yeah, I mean, this is such an ambitious project, this whole Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. as part of the giant cinematic Disney Marvel universe. For me, the show has always been one that I've enjoyed, but one that I think has even gotten stronger and better over time because the whole format, as a Whedon show, even though he's not doing all the writing, he's the showrunner. A lot of the early episodes were just foundation stuff, setting up the stuff that's just recently come to fruition. So this was like a long con. This was a long game, and we are just now reaping the fruits of those labors. So I'm excited that it got to a second season because this is right now its prime. It's got its feet underneath it, and I'm really excited to see where they go from here.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think the long con is a really good description of that. Some technical difficulties with Brad.
I'm back. I don't know what happened. I dropped out. I was like in this weird pocket universe where I'm like...
Well, the funny thing is, the whole time I was talking, we're in a freeze frame, so I was like, either he's really still or there's an internet connection problem.
It's just like, I'm just going to sit still and not do a thing until they're done talking about S.H.I.E.L.D.
Well, I was thinking maybe I was so engrossing that, he was just like frozen, listening.
Stephen Konchelik, you are pretty captivating.
But yeah, no. To Will's point, that I think long con is a great, description of it because it really does kind of feel like they had this really slow burn, but there was definitely seeds that were planned. It's not like Lost, where you can kind of tell where they're like, oh, let's go this way and let's pretend like we meant it the whole time. There were definitely seeds planted at the very beginning that are now growing and blooming, and so you can tell they had an idea of what they wanted to do from the very beginning.
Yeah.
They're blooming like Sansa's red flower.
Ooh,
I don't know how I'm supposed to feel about that.
Oh boy.
But yeah, it's so that was a good renewal. As
Awesome.
opposed to, some stuff that probably I don't care about, like Resurrection.
Yeah, who cares about Resurrection? What
The
happened?
Bachelor got renewed.
I'm really excited to see Arrow renewed for another season.
Oh, I'm so glad, because Tomorrow People got canceled. So,
I know.
That was one that we talked about on the show also, and I dropped it because I didn't think it was a great show, but, they were back-to-back for a little while, and they were brothers, so, or they still are brothers, but maybe they just hate each other now.
Maybe they're not anymore. Stephen Amell's like, didn't quite work out. Thanks.
Yeah.
One that's really got me excited to see coming back is another show that I think really rewards you as you watch it, because each episode feeds off the other and builds its own lore, and that's Sleepy Hollow, which was a show I was not expecting to like. I went into that like mid-season because a bunch of people were like, "You need to watch this." I was like, Sleepy Hollow. I don't want to watch this. But the show was really good, built up to a nice little crescendo. But I just wasn't sure, how well it was being received. So I'm very happy to see it's coming back for a second season. Same with Brooklyn Nine-Nine, which was, I think, my favorite comedy of the year.
Yeah, I never saw Brooklyn Nine-Nine, but I'm glad it got renewed, mostly because I think that team of people is really talented, and I just for some reason never got on the train, but now that's renewed, I definitely want to see the first season and continue watching it.
Yeah, it's one of those shows kind of like, do you remember the seasons of The Office that were when they had the lightning in a bottle? Because they went off, The Office went off the rails for me, at least kind of towards the end. They kept just trying to repeat what they were doing. But there were a couple of seasons early on there where it's like, there's something here. This is a great cast doing very interesting, unique things on television at this time in history. And Brooklyn Nine-Nine feels like that. It feels like they captured something special. And I just hope now that they keep that they keep this momentum going, and they keep building off of their own comedic genius, because I've just had so much enjoyment from this show.
That's awesome.
And then another one, Bob's Burgers got renewed. I have no idea what that is. I didn't even know that was a show.
Hey, but Glee got renewed, everybody.
Oh, God. Well, I think they only got renewed because they're doing a final season, aren't they?
Are they? I have no idea. I haven't watched since last year. I have no idea what's going on.
The Blacklist got renewed.
I saw that. I've seen the first 4 episodes. I liked it, but who has time to watch so much TV?
I know.
Watching these renewed lists, there's part of it is it's. I feel like I'm playing this giant game of Sophie's Choice each week, just because there's all of these amazing shows out there, or at least let me rephrase it. There's all of these shows out there, some of which are good, some of them which aren't, and you just don't have time to watch all of them. So, maybe something like I've not watched The Following. I keep hearing good things, but so that's one that is on my list for when I can get to it. But yeah, just so many shows. Parks and Rec is coming back for a final season, and that makes me happy, because that's long been a standby in my comedic wheelhouse.
Yeah. Hey, real quick, we just got a live comment from our very own Casey Scott, who cannot be with us tonight. He says, "Hey guys, I can still watch even if I can't join you. Miss y'all, but love Will."
Hey. Love you too, Casey.
Casey, we miss you. We heart you.
Exactly.
Come back. Come back. Oh, hey, Survivor got renewed. I'm glad to see that.
Exactly.
Will, how many seasons of Survivor has this been so far?
So we're currently watching season, what are we on right now? 26, 27. We're currently watching season 27. So, gosh, 27 seasons back from year 2000. That's crazy. And right now, Survivor it started off its history like really, really super high in the ratings, and then it tapered off. It's done well historically, but I believe that this season is the first year that it's gone head-to-head with American Idol, that it's actually overtaken American Idol in terms of overall rankings. Part of it's because of the strength of the season. So I'm excited. You know, every year there's kind of like on the message boards for Survivor, a lot of gloom and doom. Like it's probably going to end this year. It's probably going to end this year. But I think right now we're kind of in this renaissance where we're like we may have a few more seasons now because of the strength of the last couple. So
Survivor is a powerhouse. It's going to be around, knock on wood, for a long time. I think we're going to be celebrating season 45 in a few years.
I can see it making at least, the longest time they've said, okay, 30 is where they're going to cap it off. It's going to go well past that.
Come on, Jeff Probst, I love you, Jeff Probst, but I mean, this show is like his personal platform. You know what I mean? Like, what's he going to do without Survivor?
Exactly. His talk show canceled.
Exactly. Like, that was the gloom and doom. It's like, oh, he's got his own show. What's going to happen? It's like, well, that didn't go so well. He's back on Survivor. We're good.
I mean, he's good at saying three things. Survivor's ready. I'll go count the votes, or I'll go tally the votes.
And the tribe has spoken.
And the tribe has spoken. It may be maybe a little, I got nothing for you. He doesn't really have a lot of arrows in his quiver.
No.
You know what I mean? Outside of Survivor. Or you know what? I'm being unfair. He may, but we just haven't gotten to see much of him outside of Survivor. And I love Jeff Probst. He's a little.
I think he's a great host.
I think he's a good host, and he comes across a little dickish sometimes. But I enjoy him on Survivor.
Especially as his roles expanded into that of, just being a host into that of a producer. Like, this is a guy who has more and more of a stake in the show every single year, more and more creative control. And even if his, sayings are a little trite or cliche, these are all ones that originated with him and that he's injected into the tapestry of, American sayings. Tribe has spoken is something that you don't have to be watching Survivor this season to know what that phrase means, or to have dropped it. You got voted off the island when you keep someone in your house or whatever. There's a lot of things where Survivor's bled over into pop culture, and it's all because of these Jeff Probst-isms.
Absolutely, and I know we're going to talk about Survivor later, so I won't harp too much. But I get a little visceral thrill every time I hear previously on Survivor. It's just I love it. It's great. Love you, Jeff Probst. Let's see, what else got renewed? Chosen apparently got renewed, which I don't understand.
I don't understand that. I stopped watching it. I was so excited for it, and I just stopped watching it. Was not a fan.
Did you check it out, Will?
I watched the first episode. I thought the first episode was way better than I expected, but it wasn't enough to survive Sophie's Choice for me. So I stopped watching it, not because I didn't like the first episode. I thought it had potential, but it just didn't have enough potential to keep me roped in, I guess.
Yeah.
Gotcha. All right, let's talk about some cancellations. The crazy ones. Who didn't see that one coming? Sorry, Robin Williams.
That was an easy call. I think there were a few kind of like that in the Michael J. Fox show that I think just did not seem like it were. I would have put money on them not making it to season 2.
Man, Michael J. Fox can just not cut a break on TV anymore.
No. Nothing against him. Just
I think it's commendable what he's trying to do, but I don't think people are ready to see a guy with Parkinson's be a lead actor in a show.
Right. Especially a guy with more of a hook, it's just it's just called the Michael J. Fox show. Like, what's he doing? That's usually not enough to get people to sit down.
Now, if it were a reality series, it would probably actually have more of an audience, to believe it or not. I mean, people might be interested in how his life actually functions dealing with this, and there's a lot of people that could probably relate to it because there's a lot of people that have family members that have Parkinson's. But as a scripted show, every time I tried to watch it, it was kind of painful.
All I know is I want a Family Ties sequel show.
There you go.
Alex P. Keaton.
That's right. What else is renewed? The CW's Reign, which is their answer to Game of Thrones, apparently is renewed. I've not.
Is it Game of Thrones or is it answer to True Blood? Is that
Well, it seems like it's trying to be both. Maybe I don't know. It's like I haven't watched the show, but like because I watch Arrow, I see commercials for it all the time, and it looks like one of those like when you go into the dollar store and you see the knockoffs of Transformers. You know what I mean? They're called like transmogrifiers or whatever.
Yeah.
Are there any surprises, like things where like you saw the renewal list and you were just like, how the hell is that coming back?
Bob's Burgers was a surprise because I've never heard anyone talk about that show.
Bob's Burgers is one of the best animated shows on right now. It's got H. John Benjamin, who is also the voice of Archer. Yeah, for me, it's because it comes on that Fox block, like with Family Guy and Simpsons and all the. You get a lot. I for some reason have enough. I've not watched a lot of it, which unfortunately has like got a lot of like my friends, a lot of people in my circle like upset for not knowing more of the Bob's Burgers isms.
Yeah,
right.
I mean, it may be a fantastic show. It's just one of those things where I've never heard anyone talk about it. So it's just one of those things where it's like that I've never heard of it, so I'm surprised it got renewed. You know, whereas some of the cancellations, or actually another renewal that I was kind of surprised at was Elementary. I've seen several episodes and it was decent, but that's another one that I'm pretty surprised that it made the cut.
Now that's the one, just to make sure I'm remembering my show right, that's the one where Lucy Liu is in a Sherlock type story, right?
Yeah,
it is Sherlock.
She's Watson. Yeah,
she's Sherlock. Watson and he's Sherlock, and just seeing the British, Sherlock, it's just so hard to compete with. And like I said, it's a decent show. I've watched a couple episodes, but it's just one that I was really surprised that it made the cut.
Yeah, especially because of the British show. Like, I can't imagine that they have a lot of crossover audience. Like, you watch one probably, or you watch the other. The British one's quite good.
It's amazing. I love it.
It's not amazing.
The one that surprised me the most that it got renewed, and I get why, but at the same time going away. And now it survived Angus T. Jones going away. So now it's got Amber Tamblyn in as the half man, I guess. I've not watched it since Charlie Sheen went away, but it's still just so weird that this show is continuing to get steam, whereas what I consider to be better shows got canceled. And I get why. It's because of money, but
right.
Yeah.
American Horror Story is renewed. What do you think about that?
I think it'll take a lot for me to watch another season of that.
Really? Will, have you watched it all, Will?
So I'm watching it. I'm doing the Netflix way of watching it. So I watched season 1 and season 2, which was Asylum. I haven't watched season 3, which is Coven, which I will as soon as it hits Netflix. So I'm glad it got renewed, just so I know what I'll be watching. Whatever season 4 is, I guess it's Carnival is what they're doing. I'll be watching that, a year after you guys are done talking about it. Maybe I'll be caught up by then. Who knows?
The Walking Dead is back. That's no surprise.
Yeah.
New shows that are coming. We could talk on that real quick. Flash coming to CW. I'm pumped.
Finally. I mean, they keep on teasing it in Arrow, and I'm expecting a little bit of crossover tease action, but they all they keep on doing is Star Laboratory. It's like, yeah, show us the Flash.
Right, exactly. Yep, I'm right there with you. But we have to wait for that for next season apparently, because originally Flash was supposed to come back at the end of the season to help out with what's going on. But now they've decided just to spin him off into his own series, so it's good and bad, But yeah. What other new shows are you guys looking forward to?
Agent Carter, the spin-off of the first Captain America film. It's going to be set in the 1940s, starring Peggy Carter, who is in the first Captain America movie, and then had the very small part in the newer Captain America movie. And it's going to show what happens to her in the 1940s after Captain America gets frozen, and her basically forming what will eventually become S.H.I.E.L.D. So it's going to be kind of a high espionage, high espionage spy show set in the 40s, and there'll be, of course, a lot of interplay between the Marvel Universe and Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. So I'm really excited about that. I'm really excited to see what they'll do with it, and I'm happy to see Marvel with a show that has a female lead. Like that's going to be interesting new territory for them.
Mm.
Yeah.
What about Gotham coming to Fox?
The trailer for that was not that exciting. The one that I saw, I think it could possibly be interesting, but I mean, it's sort of the world of Batman before Batman, so it's sort of like I'm not sure what the hook is. I'll be, if they pull it off, I'll definitely be behind it, but I think it's gonna be hard to pull off.
I think they need to for a Batman show. You're coming right off the heels of the Nolan film, heading right into the all of the Zack Snyder films that are supposed to be about Superman, but are turning more and more into just like shove every DC hero as you can into this giant franchise. So you've got this weird place in cinematic Batmans, and I think that what Gotham needs to do, and what it may be doing, I think this is the direction they're going, is they're doing something from such a different angle, from such a different perspective, that no one is going to confuse the two or think, well, how come Superman just doesn't come in, or anything like that. I'm hoping that's the direction they do, and that they do it with quality. The fear is that they'll go so far off the beaten path that it won't look anything like the Batman that fans will know and love. So they've got a tightrope.
It's not the TV show that you need. It's a TV show you deserve.
I was thinking that
TV show we need. It's a TV show you all deserve.
Let the ratings go.
I was thinking that they were maybe trying to compete a little bit with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., like create a more procedural show that doesn't depend necessarily on the major superhero characters of the universe, but sort of dips its toes in the universe, has ancillary characters in there. But I'm not sure. I haven't read too much about it. I just saw the trailer, and it's going to be interesting.
It sure is. Well, yeah. I mean, fortunately, we still have Arrow. So even if Gotham sucks, DC's still got a good television show on,
For sure.
which makes me super happy.
Indeed.
Did you guys see that there's a show called Selfie about a woman reinventing herself through social media?
I did.
Are we thinking? Yeah. How many episodes until it gets canceled?
If it makes it to a season 2, I will eat this
beard.
Nice. Yeah. I think the only one I'm mourning, and I didn't get a chance to really mention this, is Community. I am mourning Community hard. That was a show that I get why it always competed to have to try to just be in the mix in terms of ratings. But it was a very fresh show, even when it had some creative issues during its kind of rough gas leak season where Dan Harmon wasn't on. I think that the strength of the cast still shone, and the end of the season, this last season, was nice enough that it could have been a good series finale as well. So I'm okay with that. But I've been wanting, just like a lot of Community fans, the whole 6 seasons in a movie theme to come true, and we were just like, we're one season in a movie away from it happening, and it sucks to get this close to the finish line and falling flat.
All right. Well, a lot of interesting cancellations and renewals. I think the new TV season is going to be I don't know, a little all over the place. I'm anxious to see how things kind of shake out with some of the shows that are coming back. I didn't see, was Fargo on that list? Is Fargo being?
I didn't notice on the.
I think it is coming back. Let me double check. But I think I just saw it on here.
Did you? Okay.
Yep. No, Fargo is listed, at least on the list I'm seeing, and maybe mine's not as up to date. Yeah, mine may not as up to date, but it was listed in the at-risk category. Like, it wasn't in the renewed or canceled section.
Probably because it's still so early in the show's run. I mean, we're only 3-4 episodes in, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And AMC and Fox and TNT, they've only announced like a few of their renewals and cancellations. They still have a few shows that are on the fence, whereas like the major networks, you kind of already know most of what's going on with them.
Indeed. All right, guys. Well, you ready to switch to our TV episode reviews for this week?
Yes, please.
All right. Well, here we go. Let's catch up on the latest and greatest happenings in Westeros in Game of Thrones. And we're back from our awkward pause to insert the Game of Thrones theme. Those of you who are watching live stream, you're always like, did it freeze? But wait, no. Stephen Head's bopping around to something. What's going on?
That's why I'm trying to help them out, but they know it's not their computer glitch.
Oh, goodness. All right. Well, just a heads up, guys. We're going to be spoiling pretty much everything through the latest episode of Game of Thrones. So if you're behind, this is probably a good time to go do something else and come back when we talk about Survivor. All right, so a lot has happened. Where do you guys want to start?
At the beginning. I think, let's see, so 2 episodes have passed. 2. And I honestly can't remember what was in the last episode that we didn't talk about. We know Tyrion's going on trial. And that happened in the last episode, which is amazing. We'll get to that. Last episode was the attack on by Jon Snow on that village, Craster's Keep.
Yep.
And he almost got his brother, but there was that paths crossing thing.
Right.
So that was pretty wild. And
yeah, that was crazy. Bran using Hodor, to murder Locke was kind of I don't know. I kind of thought Hodor might just smack him unconscious or something, but to fucking kill him like
rip
that.
His head off.
Wow,
One of the things the show does so well is it sets up these moral quandary situations where it's a character will slowly spiral down some sort of dark path, or hopefully try to avoid that, which doesn't always go so well for them. And one of the characters I thought was mostly immune to it was going to be Hodor, whose job has been to be more of a protector and as a means of transportation as well. So it's nice that through this storyline we've got something that affects Hodor on a psychological level. You saw that little moment where after he had, kind of realized what had just happened, he no longer is being controlled by Bran, there's this moment of oh shit, I just killed someone. And he's only able to verbally express it as Hodor. So I'm really excited about that. It's they never cease to amaze me in terms of just how well they're able to explore the different facets of their characters, even ones that have just been more background or maybe not as central to the key storylines. They're still able to let these characters grow and blossom.
Yeah, and Kristen Nairn continues to do so much with so little in terms of dialogue as Hodor. God, when he says Hodor, I just my heart broke for him, and he's just saying one word. All the emotion is coming from the expressiveness of his eyes and the tone of his voice, and it's pretty good stuff for sure.
It is.
What do you think of Lady Marjorie? So she's all looking at Tommen and then Cersei steps in between, and it's oh shit, Cersei just caught Marjorie. But then Cersei's he will need someone to guide him. And Marjorie's
I was actually really surprised at that that Cersei is sort of behind this union, that she thinks this is a good match. I mean, I guess she sort of alluded to the fact that you were going to go through hell with my son. I knew what he was capable of, and we don't have to pretend here, but he was going to be a horrible, horrible husband. And because you were willing to do that, I'm willing to kind of let you marry the good one.
Right.
Right, yeah. Cersei is a character who never. A lot of these characters I love watching. That's part of why we tune in and watch Game of Thrones each week.
Yeah.
Cersei is so complex. Just about the moment where I'm like, I'm tired of what she's doing. I hate her as a character. Get her off my screen. She does something just so out of left field, and I'm like, okay, interested. What happens next? I will say the one thing that really robbed me, that I felt robbed about recently with the whole Marjorie thing, was the episode with Sir Pounce, who was absolutely the most adorable cockblocker that I've ever seen in an episode. And I'm bummed that I guess that the showrunners are talking about, like, well, we'll try to bring him back. We will. So I'm hoping we see more Sir Pounce. He's the character to watch.
I want to see Sir Pounce on the Iron Throne with the crown.
That's how this is going to end. There's just with blood and dragons and zombies, and at the end it's just going to be like Sir Pounce and Hodor, like, and nothing else.
Yeah. Sir Pounce will be in control of what's left of the dragons, and he'll give some meow equivalent of Dracarys, and the dragons will flame at the screen, and that's how the show ends.
What a twist!
Speaking of dragons, what the hell, Daenerys? Like, I really love her character, and I was enjoying her storyline, but God, I feel like we've lost all momentum with her storyline. Like, apparently now she's staying in Marine because she is not capable of holding on to these cities that she's liberated, and now it's like, oh well, aren't we going to Westeros to reclaim the throne and take revenge for your family? No, if I can't control these cities, how can I hope to be a queen? It's just kind of lame. I don't know.
Yeah.
There's something that works about it for me, only because one of the big themes of Game of Thrones for me is this idea that you have to have either wisdom, you have to have a combination of wisdom, compassion, and guile to rule effectively. And that's the problem with the Starks. The Starks have compassion, but they don't have guile. The Lannisters don't have compassion, so they can't rule effectively. And Daenerys has been this character we've seen guile, we've seen her be sneaky, we've seen compassion, we've seen her love these slaves, and we've seen wisdom somewhat in that she's come up with these kind of bold strategic moves, but what she's doing right now is she's learning true wisdom, which is how to lead now that you've used your compassion and used your guile to build your forces. So from a long-term storyline effect, I get why they're doing it. I like why they're doing it. Now, that said, in the short term, what this means is we do get a lot of scenes of Daenerys just kind of sitting here and watching as things either crumble or kind of build up under her base. So maybe they could spend a little bit less time over there and spend a little bit more of that time in some of the other scenes just while we kind of tick the clock away. But I at least appreciate the sentiment about why they're doing that.
Yeah, I mean, I get it. You know what I mean? I understand, and I think it's interesting that she wants to become a good queen. She's kind of cutting her teeth on the slaves before she, comes to Westeros. But at the same time, I don't think it makes, for as compelling, I guess, of a narrative for me to watch. How many of these people is she going to summon into her throne room and help? You know what I mean? Just kind of, I'd rather get back to shit that's really that really matters in the now, I guess.
Well, I think it's also just wanting to move the story along. So if we just kind of see her sitting in one place, it does kind of feel stagnant, and I get what you're saying, Will, that it's she's learning to rule, and instead of like Joffrey, where it's just like, no, I'm a ruler, I was born a ruler, I am a ruler, right. And he was just a horrible person. She's saying, she's taking the route of, I'm going to rule people, but I'm going to do it by actually ruling, listening to their problems, trying to solve their problems, but also trying to put my foot down and, do what I want. But it does, you do kind of want to just get a glimpse of it and then move on, and there's no indication that they're going to move on at any point.
Mm-hmm.
I do like, at least in this last episode, we got to see her make a mistake. I mean, that's something we haven't seen lately. She had some problems with her ruling this last time. She made a hasty decision in crucifying the 160-something noblemen, and then she found out, afterwards, hey, not all of them were doing the bad things that you crucified them for, and they're supposed to have these rights, and now she has to deal with, well, how do I do this? And she comes up with a decision that's kind of backpedally and kind of awkward and clumsy, and what I'm think and hope this is setting up is some more scenes of Daenerys fucking up, because what she needs is some scenes of her fucking up, because right now she's just on this like, I've been doing all these awesome things and I love it, I love the character, but seeing her like be less of a golden child will make the inevitable, like she's in Westeros and she's fighting these different wars, that much more interesting, because I won't feel like she's just an unstoppable juggernaut.
I think if she spent more time like doing cool stuff and less time reciting her titles, it might be a little more engaging.
Well, also, I think the thing that kind of, and we talked about this in the last time, is like, what's going on with the dragons? And we got a glimpse of that in this episode where they, burned up some sheep, and then she's like, "Oh, let me pay you for that." Right. But at the same time, it just does kind of show she's not in control of the dragons. Like, they're just going around burning stuff up, and so it just, I'm curious. I'm still to this day curious about the mechanics of the dragons. Like, if she wants to be like, okay, we're gonna march, does she have to go find the dragons? Like, where are they? Are they nearby? Are they down in another village? Can she tell them don't eat people?
That's what I would love to see happen. We just had in this episode, like the dragons, like went and did something that she didn't know about. She didn't know it was going off and killing these goats, and we can kind of surmise that this is probably not the first time they've done that. So what I would love to see happen in an upcoming episode is one of the dragons gets spooked and just flames up half of the city, or like eats a couple of noblemen or something like that, and then Daenerys, like, okay, Daenerys, you're the great leader, you're the wise leader, you're supposed to know these things. How do you handle this? Right. Because that's going to put her in a really interesting pickle. And I think from the perspective, what you guys are saying is like, I want to see more dynamic things. That would give us something that's like both visually interesting and probably have a little bit more of like a punch, like, dealing with like death or destruction.
Well, and I think there's some merit to that, Will, for sure, because, the whole series, she's been Mother of Dragons, you know what I mean? And she has these dragons, great. But, in the first episode, we got our first illusion that maybe she can't totally control them. But, we're halfway through the season now, and we've really only had, like, 2 moments with dragon-y stuff. And I was kind of hoping to see, again, expectation management, shot. I was hoping to maybe see her get some FaceTime with the dragons and see her trying to, like, control them now that she realizes, she needs
they don't
to
have
some
iPhones
dominance.
in that world.
Yeah, they use Snapchat instead of Facebook.
I guess, But I don't know. I think that would be really interesting to see her maybe struggling to control them, and maybe they kill a bunch of people and she has to live with that because
exactly.
But, that's an interesting comparison. Like her versus, her and her little monster children versus what's going on with Cersei and her little monster child who's no longer with us.
Right.
Yeah, there's a lot of parallels you can draw there.
Indeed. Yeah. Indeed. What do you guys think about what's going on with Littlefinger and Sansa?
The most interesting thing that's happened in the last couple of episodes was the reveal of Littlefinger being behind the original assassination attempt that caused everything. Like, I went on social media after that episode, and I didn't see anyone going, "Oh my God, gasp! Did you see the thing on Game of Thrones?" And I was kind of blown away by it, because it's like this was like the biggest reveal of the entire series to date, like, just how much Littlefinger has been responsible for everything that we've seen so far.
Yeah.
So just seeing him with that and what he's doing in the Eyrie and kind of knowing like how much more of a role he's going to play, like and plus I have kind of a soft spot for Sansa. She's the type of character who I've enjoyed watching her. I know that she's not as popular a character as some of the other Starks, but I do like her character, and I like the kind of the direction she's gone so far, and I want to see more. So right now, that's the storyline that I'm most interested to whenever they can to it.
She's really gotten herself into a pickle, way worse than she had it at King's Landing.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. It's I think and also having to hear what's her name scream during sex, which I thought, how is she screaming? I thought he had a little finger, I thought that's why he was called that.
Oh my!
But yeah, it's interesting, that scene where she was with her aunt and she's like crushing her hand and everything, and like, tell me this. She's like, no. I mean, I think she that was one of the first times, I think, even with Joffrey and everything, she felt totally scared. It's an interesting situation, and I agree with you, Will. When they sort of, she listed all the things that she's done for him, including writing the letter and everything, it was just like, holy crap! It is definitely a reveal of, he was a much bigger role than you thought he was. You thought he was sort of an idiot, and or at least thought of himself more than he was, but he was really controlling a lot of stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah. Oh, we have another comment from somebody.
Yay.
From Alicia Miner saying, "Love watching guys." I think she means us.
Us
Awesome.
or guys in general? Nah.
Yeah,
I love watching guys too. I won't lie.
Yeah, exactly.
Big
Well,
love,
thanks.
Felicia.
Thank you.
Thanks, Felicia. Yeah, appreciate that.
We
Awesome.
do.
We're glad you enjoy.
Hi, Felicia.
I love doing this live like this. It's so cool, like interacting with those of you out in listener land. We welcome your comments. Chat us up. We'll read them on the air for sure.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All
Well,
right.
unless they're super dirty. This is a family show.
All right.
Speaking of family show, how many boobies in the first 15 minutes of this last episode? I mean, seriously. And then they go to Greyjoy, and they won't show his penis chopped off.
That pissed me
Have
off.
a penis, and they won't show it.
Yeah, that made me. I'm like, you fucking ballless cowards! Like, really, you're not gonna show us that after I just had to endure like 3 vaginas and 12 pairs of boobs?
Seriously, it really. I feel like I'm getting the sense that the showrunners just have a penis fright or something like that. I mean, we've seen.
We're not the target audience.
Well, we're watching it. I mean, come
Well,
on.
yeah.
But we've seen Hodor penis, and I think there might have been one more.
Theon Greyjoy's dick. We saw that.
Well, we saw it chopped off, didn't we?
We also saw it on him a couple
Did
of
we?
times.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I think there's been a couple of other just in kind of like random sex scenes where you see just like it flashes and see just like a bit of dong, but I mean this is a very like boob centric show. Like
Yeah.
in this one we had there's the spa scene and you've just got boobs, non-stop boobs, either side of you boobs, rubbing on the guy boobs here, and it's just like come on, you can't just like one like fat hairy naked guy just walk by in the background. Come on,
Just one nut. All we're asking for is one nut.
You don't even need 2. Half of the left nut. Half of the left nut. That's all I want.
Oh boy. You know what? I will say though, saw the preview for next week. Big beefy hairy muscle bear chopping with an axe or a sword or something. I don't know if you saw that.
I didn't see it. I like as soon as the episode ended, I had to come in here because I watched it right before here.
Oh right.
I didn't get to see the preview, but yeah, that sounds delicious.
Felicia Miner just messaged again to let us know it's love watching, guys. So
okay.
awesome.
That's what I thought.
I was like, hey, I love watching guys too. So yeah.
That's
Either
what we're
way.
talking about here with Game of Thrones. We want to watch more guys on Game of Thrones.
That's right. How fitting, right? For sure.
Yeah.
All right, let's get to the main event. The Tyrion trial. That was amazing. Holy crap.
was just totally glued to the TV. I mean, I knew it was going to be a sham trial anyway, but I mean, the people that they lined up that were, previously kind of supportive of him, a few of them, and just the way they were just throwing him under the bus. And, when Shay came out, my heart started beating.
Shay, don't, Shay.
It was truly, and you could feel for him, and you saw it in his face. It was true, and I couldn't tell. Did you guys get the sense that she was doing that on her own because of what he said to her, or do you think that Cersei had something to do with it?
We're going to see something more from her. We're going to see her either literally or figuratively in bed with someone else. Like someone else is pulling her strings, and I don't know what the circumstances for that are going to be, who it is, or why. Is it Cersei? Maybe. It's hard to tell. There's so many different people. Tyrion's one of those guys, we love to watch him, but he is pissed off like so many people. And I mean, you got to see all the people march across the stage and say, this is why he was the poisoner, this is why he was the murderer. Any single one of them or any one of these random people in the background could have been responsible for it. That's what makes this show so compelling.
I just hope we don't literally see Shay in bed with Grandmaster Pycelle, because I don't want to see that.
Yeah, I think, yeah.
But maybe Papa Lannister.
Tyrion?
Wait.
No, Tywin. My God.
Tywin. Yeah, that's the thing. I was like, it's like Tyrion, but it's Tywin. Yeah. There's, the whole thing was, and then just Tyrion's whole speech at the end, where he was just spewing this venom at everyone, and I thought maybe he was going to go, I'm guilty, just kill me. Like, I feel so dead, just go ahead and kill me. But he was like, no, I'm not guilty, but I wish I had. I wish I'd killed him, It was just, it was amazing.
When he turned to Cersei and he's like, I got more relief watching your son die than from 100 lying whores. I was like, oh, that's so good. Hey, do you guys think does Tywin Lannister remind you of Grand Moff Tarkin in Star Wars: New Hope?
A little bit. I see where you're going there. It's he's very similar.
A little bit. So Will is frozen right now.
I thought so. I was like, he's either being really still or
yeah. I just got a message from Will. Apparently, a thunderstorm has attacked his house and his cabin has dropped out. So hopefully he'll pop back in here pretty soon. But it's all right. We will stay the course, Stephen.
Exactly. We're staying strong.
We'll do it. So what's going to happen to Tyrion? Where do you think? So trial by combat, right?
Yeah, he ends it with, I demand trial by combat, which it was interesting with Jaime and Tywin, having an exchange, and Jaime, basically saying, I want to sacrifice my, Kingsguard, my life for, what my work for him, and, I will give that up if you let him live. And Tywin, done immediately. And it gave me a little bit of a feeling that Tywin had this almost set up from the beginning, almost knowing that Jaime would do something like that to sacrifice his role, for his brother, and so he's like, he almost pushed him to do it because he just reacted so quickly, and he had something in mind of, you're going to give up the Kingsguard, you're going to produce a bunch of babies so that we have a Lannister legacy. And I will spare his life by sending him to the wall, and he can live out his life, and just that's his punishment.
But that's the Ned Stark deal, right? And we know that things don't really work out that way sometimes.
Yeah. Ooh, we got Will back.
Will is back. Thank you, Thunderstorm.
No, thank you, Thunderstorm.
So do you think that Tyrion is going to ask either Jaime or Bronn to be his champion here?
That is the interesting thing, is that when he said, I want to trial by combat, that means that, he has to fight someone, right? So who's he going to fight? And who gets to pick the person? If it's Tywin, I would think he still wants the Jaime deal to be honored, so he would pick sort of a lame duck that he thinks that maybe he has a chance against, because he wants him to live so that he can get Jaime to do his end of the deal. But at the same time, what if they put someone like the Hound or someone in there, to that he has no chance against.
So my prediction is, we've been seeing, and sorry about that, listeners, power blipped me out, I'm back now. My prediction is this: we've been seeing this training thing all season long, where Jaime's been training with
Braun?
Braun, yeah. And so I'm almost wondering if whoever it was got to Shay, I wonder if they're going to get to Braun as well. Because remember, Braun lied earlier in the season about Shay. Remember, he said to Tyrion, she got on the boat. Obviously, she didn't get on the boat because she's here. So Braun's already lied to Tyrion. So my prediction is we're going to see Jaime stepping up and being the champion for Tyrion, and then Braun is going to step out, and they're going to hash out like a real version of the fight that they've been sparring at on the docks.
Ah, that would be interesting.
Indeed.
I think that's a good prediction, and I want to see that. And if it doesn't happen, I'm going to hold you accountable, Will.
Hold me accountable. And if so, poor Tyrion, man. No matter how that turns out, everyone that he's cared about has turned on him or is the squire for Brienne. So, he's got, except for Jaime, who's recently kind of turned, turned babyface on him. To use a wrestling term, he doesn't have a lot of his cast of characters in his quarter supporting him, and that's terribly tragic.
Yeah, and before I forget, I really loved when Tyrion said, "I'm on trial for being a dwarf." He's like, "No, you're not," you're not on trial for being a dwarf. He's like, "Yes, I've been on trial for being a dwarf my entire life," and it's true. Every day he has to battle that thing. So it was such an amazing scene.
Definitely. Any other plot lines we've left out that we want to talk about before we switch to Survivor?
I can't think of any.
No, can't think of any here. Man, this season has been really solid. Really liking the directions a lot of these characters are going.
Agreed. Well, halfway through the season, guys. Hard to believe we're there already. Well, more than halfway now, right? It was episode 6. So we've got 4 left, I think.
Something like that.
Oh my god!
Oh my gosh!
So fast.
That's gonna be a hard wait until season 5.
I know.
Jeez, Pete's. All right. Well, all right. Let's switch tracks. Let's get away from Game of Thrones. We could talk about Game of Thrones forever, I think, and I'd be okay with that. But we did promise we would also talk about another little show. So yeah, here we go. Survivor. Anyway, so we're back from our theme music for Survivor. I've just fallen into the habit of explaining why we leave these pauses. Our audio-only listeners are like, I just heard the theme song. I really don't need the explanation, thanks. But whatever. You get it anyway. Sorry. So Survivor, it's been a while since we've talked about Survivor. Actually, I think since our Naked and Afraid versus Survivor showdown. What are your general thoughts on this season, Will Lindis? Because you're on here and we don't get to pick your brain very much.
Little background on me. I am a huge Survivor nut. If there's one television show that I consider to be my favorite television show, it's Survivor. I've seen all the seasons except for the last couple at least twice. I like to do rewatches. I've blogged about it. I've interacted online with a few of the castaways. So this is my lifeblood. I nerd out about it. And this season is especially good for me because Survivor's on this little, since season 25, we're now on season 28. We've had this little run of 3 really good seasons and 1 kind of not so good season, kind of on par with some of their early seasons that were just really, really, really solid. We're in this resurgence of Survivor. We're getting this comeback in terms of just the overall editing quality of the show, the casting, etc. This season is a shining example of that. We've got a lot of characters on this season who I love the cast. We've got a lot of characters this season who we don't have any fantastic players who are just trouncing everybody else in the competition, but we have a lot of mediocre to above average players who are all willing to mix it up, and that's made for a very predictable season. This is the first season since season 22 where I haven't been able to 3 episodes in go, yeah, so and so's gonna win. We're down to 5 people left, and there's still I think 3 good viable candidates. that excites me. I'm really interested in seeing kind of what direction things go from here, because I have no fucking clue. I can make guesses, I can go hunches, I can, I bet you if this happens, and then this person will take that person. We can do that all day, and I'm excited to hear what you guys think and maybe do some of that with you. But just from where I'm sitting right here, I'm loving the season. I'm loving how unpredictable, how we keep seeing hashtags for chaos, not only for the hashtag chaoscast, but Tony saying, I want to be chaotic. We keep hearing all this stuff, and chaos really is the theme for this season. No one knows what's going to happen. The contestants don't know what's going to happen next. I'm sure production is sitting there just like, giant erections, just going like, this is going to make great television. Keep doing what you're doing, Tony. Yeah, I'm loving this season. What have you guys' thoughts been on this season?
I personally think this is one of the best seasons I've ever watched. It really, for a couple of reasons. Number one, it's just a great cast of characters. They did such a good job casting. Probably the past 10 seasons or so, they've really upped their game on casting, really picking interesting people all around. People that you wouldn't expect to be rising to the top. I mean, even when what's his name won it a couple of years, the nerdy redhead
Cochran.
Cochran, yeah. That's a character you wouldn't expect to get where he got, but they saw something in him, and I'm glad they did. And this season is totally no exception. It is across the board interesting people, and everyone is making really big moves. That's one of the things in past seasons, one of the things I've complained about is when people get too afraid to make big moves. This season it's the exact opposite. Everyone wants to make a big move, and they're doing it. And that's where that chaos tag comes from, because it's like they get to these tribal councils, and you're like, they're just letting everything loose and throwing everyone under the bus, and you actually kind of get the feeling that you don't know how they're going to vote. There's a lot of times where you can kind of they're going to vote one way, even though they teased, well, I'm not sure what I'm going to do. They're going to go a certain way. In almost every single episode, I have no idea who's going to get voted off. That is really compelling.
Yeah, I agree. It's one of those seasons where, like you said, you kind of don't know early on, like, who it's going to be. And I almost feel like they've been listening to us talk about Survivor, because we've been complaining that, like, the way they do the editing kind of makes it obvious. And, Will, one of the reasons I didn't enjoy talking Survivor with you initially so much was because you were like, oh, the editing totally shows this, and this means this, and I've already got it pegged. And I'm like, no, you just ruined the whole fucking season for me. Yeah. But I started watching for those things, and you were totally right on. I mean, they were totally telegraphing what was happening. And I'm really glad to see that we seem to maybe have gotten away from that. Or if they're still doing it, maybe it's just not as obvious. I'm really looking for like a major like Tony and Chaos cast like showdown battle. I'm really wondering though what you guys think about this whole idol with special powers.
Okay, yeah, I was waiting to talk about that.
Yeah, the Tyler Perry idol.
I kind of hate it.
It's the only thing that if there is a black mark to the season, it hasn't impacted anything yet. So there's a possibility that it won't impact anything, and we can just kind of disregard it. Like it was one of those things that it's a terrible idea that was introduced, but it didn't end up having as bad an impact as it could have had.
Right.
But it's this really, like, we've seen an idol just like this before. Yule had it back a couple, 10 seasons ago. Terry Dietz had a season like an idol like this, and they took these idols away because these players went from being like outnumbered to already in the final three, because they could just sit there and say, hey, don't vote for me because I'll just throw this special idol at you that nullifies all of your votes after they've been read.
Right.
And Survivor has gone on record. Jeff Probst, after they changed the rules of the Survivor or the idol where you had to play them beforehand, he's gone on record and said, like, yeah, we made the idol too powerful early on. So I was surprised this season in the previews. He said, hey, Tyler Perry, from Medea, sent me this message on Twitter and said, hey, you need to have this special idol that you can play afterwards, and we wanted to do the Tyler Perry idol. So for that, I'm kind of like, man, fuck you, Tyler Perry. Like, you have potentially, the season has been good despite that, but if it end up ends up impacting the votes, which it very well could at this next in this next round, that will be a black mark. That will put an asterisk next to what is an amazing season.
Right. And this episode this week, right, is the last time that they can use it, right? 5 is the last opportunity.
Yeah, assuming they go final 3, which is what they normally do. Although with the episode count, it's possible they may be trying to mix it up and doing like a final 2. And if that's the case, then they may let it go through 4. That's the thing, is we don't know a whole lot about it. Like, they've not been as forthcoming with like how often you can use it. In past seasons, they've said, here's the idol, and you can use it anytime up until final 5.
Right.
So it's a lot of question marks.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
I just, I just think, Tony is almost guaranteed a spot in the final 3, which I don't mind. He's played an amazing game. He really has. But at the same time, I don't want him to win. There's just something about him, even though he hasn't been mean or nasty outright, but there's a confidence about him and a sort of cockiness that comes off. I can see why people kind of throw the bully word around, although I don't think he's a bully. I think that word is used a little bit too often sometimes lately. But he does sort of, he is one of those guys, and I don't usually like characters that are just like, you come after me, I come after you. It's just like, come on, play the game. Don't just be, react like that. And he's gotten people off who he doesn't want off, and every single person he's wanted to go goes. And he's the biggest threat, and now it's nearly impossible. It will be impossible to get him off because he's got, and he smartly hasn't told everybody. He's thrown out, oh, I've got a special idol, but he's been so brilliant at throwing lots of things out that nobody knows if he's telling the truth or lying anymore.
Yeah, I could get him off. I'm just saying.
Yeah. There are ways. So Tony is an interesting case. I like Tony a lot because this is a guy that plays. Every so often you see these people come out and they play as though they're not really enjoying themselves. And more so than anything else, maybe the last couple episodes have been very paranoia heavy for him, but there was a long stretch of the season where he just seemed like a kid in a candy shop. He was just running out there playing with a giant smile on his face. And you notice that he made a lot of big moves and he got people to the jury, and he was cocky and he was brash, but what he never was like out and out like crazy disrespectful to the other cast members.
I agree.
You think about people like Russell Hantz. This is a guy that played on a couple seasons, and no matter how many seasons he plays, this is the one person he will never ever win a game of Survivor. He may always go deep, but he will never win a game of Survivor because his way is like a slash and burn method, which ruins juries. Tony has been mostly respectful to his jury members, or if it's not, it's been kind of like cock measuring, like, oh yeah, well I do this and you'll do that. But it's it's not from a place of like hatred or distrust. It's more from like just kind of bravado. So this is a guy that if he is able to, his challenge is going to be at Final 4. He's got idols. He can make it through just here. But if any of the other players are smart, they will cut him at Final 4. So his end game right now is going to be taking these 2 idols he's got, his Tyler Perry idol and his regular idol, and using them in such a way that he can tailor the Final 4. So that I think he needs to have Wu there with him because I think Wu will take him to the finals. And I think he needs to have Cass there in the Final 4 because I think Cass will take him to the finals. Because I think Cass knows. Right. Well, cause the thing is, I think Cass knows that. I don't know. Let me rephrase that. I don't know if Cass knows how poorly she's being received by the jury. I think she is the person that's kind of in last place. She's the one person I think cannot win this season. I think the others all have a shot.
Yeah.
But if she's smart, and I think she is smart most of the time, I think she'll try to take Tony to the end because I think she'll think that she can beat him. So if Tony is smart, what he's going to have to do is he needs to keep Wu, he needs to keep Cass, and then he's going to have to cut. I think what he needs to do is in this next round is he needs to cut. He needs to cut Spencer because I think Spencer will beat any of them in a vote.
Oh yeah, Spencer would win hands down if he was in the final 3.
And he'll win the final immunity challenge too because him and Tasha have been controlling everything. Trish is also risky because I think that my power rankings are Spencer can beat anyone. I think Tony can beat anyone else. I think Trish can beat both Cass and Wu, because she's been playing an under-the-radar game, but she's been making moves. She has a resume.
Actually, I don't know. I would think Trish would be a better choice than. Well, actually, Wu and Trish are almost interchangeable to me. Wu and Trish have just been loyal, but they have not made any moves.
Right.
And those people, at least in the seasons I've seen, I don't go as deep as you guys.
Oh, yeah.
Whoa, that sounded really dirty. But the seasons that I have seen, the people who just sort of are the sheep that follow and are just loyal voters never tend to win, because people are like, you didn't play a game, you were a little suckerfish hanging on the big whale, it's. So I would think Trish and Wu are exactly that. What have they done? They haven't done anything in this game except for voted with Tony.
Well, Trish, what she can do, it all depends on how well she sells herself at Final Tribal, because she's got a resume. She, if she sells this right, she pissed off Lindsay enough that Lindsay quit the game. When Cass made the flip, she made that flip because while Sarah was kind of like, making her feel uncomfortable about this alliance, Trish was the one that came over to Cass and made her feel really warm.
Right.
Trish made Cass flip. Every time Tony's backstabbed someone, like right after the LJ cut, Trish could have gone on a rampage, but her very, very first confessional on the next episode, she's talking about, hey, you know what? I'm kind of mad at Tony, but what we have to do now is we have to close ranks and we have to pull this back together.
Right.
And she does that. She helps. She's one of the ones that helps keep.
She is sort of the glue.
Yeah, she helps pull Jeff. Like Tony goes off and does all these chaotic things. But the only reason that his group hasn't imploded is because Trish comes along behind him and cleans up after him. Now, the problem with that is that's a very under-the-radar game. So if you're one of these people like, that can get to the end and then say, hey, look, here's the game I played and here's what I did and here's why I did it, I think that she can pull out a win against some people. I don't think she can beat Tony just because Tony's got a massive resume, and I don't think she can beat Spencer because Spencer's coming in as an underdog with a lot of friends on the jury. But I think she can beat Wu or Cass, because Cass is she seems not liked at all. Like people don't like Cass.
Yeah.
And I agree with you that she's clueless, that she doesn't know she's unliked.
That's the hardest thing, right?
She thinks she's so brilliant, and it's just like, no, you're kind of a see you next Tuesday,
Right.
Wow.
But at first, I actually really liked Cass at first, because in the beginning she was sort of calm and measured, and she was making some moves that seemed kind of stupid, but she kind of validated them. But then she just went off on crazy train, and she's just like, I heard this, and maybe it's lack of food. This is where the game, I think, gets really interesting, because after about 15, 17 days, I think your body shutting down tends to really affect your decision making, your mood swings, everything, and it really adds to that social aspect of the game. And I think this is where Cass is starting to fail.
And you have less room to hide. When you're one of 18 people, your chance of going home is fairly small. When you're one of 5 people left, unless you're sitting on 2 magical special idols, you have basically a 1 in 20, a 20% chance, a 1 in 5 chance of going home at the next tribal council. Everyone should be sweating bullets right now. Right. They should. And so this is where you see people like Cass start to implode, because they're so close to the end. Now, that said, if I'm going to put money on any one other thing, Cass is genuinely not liked, and I think people tend to know that. No matter who she's sitting with, I would put money on Cass being in the finals. I don't see any scenario where people try to cut her before the finals, because Tony needs to go after Spencer. I think he knows that. I think Wu would probably either want to cut Tony, or he would want to cut whoever Tony wants to cut, which would then be Spencer. Trish has no reason to get rid of Cass, because the two of them have kind of been like mini female alliancing it. So there's no one really gunning for Cass right now. So she's going to sit at the end probably no matter what at this point, but I just don't think she can win.
Yeah. Well, I guess we'll see. Only a few episodes left, right? So we're getting down to the wire.
So close.
So we totally need Papa Bear to come back and help us talk about the finale.
Seriously.
Oh my gosh, yes. He's a fun guy.
Love us some Papa Bear. All right, guys. Well, we're getting down to the wire here, so I don't know. Any last final thoughts about Survivor before we move on to plugs?
No, I don't miss Redemption Island.
Oh,
I'm glad
thank God.
Redemption Island's gone. I'm glad that the casting has been so good. I'm glad that the editing has been good. Even a lot of the characters that we lost early on, like Jatia and Garrett and Cliff in the middle, and like Morgan. We had a lot of great characters that didn't have long legs in the game, but who still had memorable arcs for the short period of time they were there. A lot of times you judge a season. A lot of, like, the way I judge a season, at least, is, of course, how it is as a whole, but then you look at, like, what the pre-merge and what the post-merge look like, and sometimes you can say a season like Blood versus Water last season had an amazing pre-merge and kind of a weak post-merge with a couple of standout episodes. This is one where, kind of across the board, I don't think there's really been a weak episode or throwaway episode, and we've only got a couple of episodes left, so anything could happen, but already this one's slated as, like, for me at least, a top 5 season, and 28 seasons deep, man, that is so cool that I can say that.
It's amazing. I mean, seriously amazing. Absolutely. Which means next year we'll get to the big 3-0 for Survivor.
Yes.
I wonder if we'll do something special.
Like have 30 contestants.
I'd love to see a all winners edition. There's been a lot of people like Yule, who's one of my favorite contestants from older Survivor, who've said, I don't really want to come back unless you do like an all winner season. Kim Spradlin, I think, said the same thing. One of the best people that's ever played the game. So I think eventually we're going to see an all winners edition. We just have to get enough winners under our belt who want to come back and play to do it.
Have they ever done? My husband Sean suggested something I thought was brilliant. Doing a season of all first-time vote cast-offs. People who have all been cast off the very first,
That would be interesting.
Yeah, wouldn't it?
It would. I think they tested the waters on that with Francesca when she came back for 2 seasons ago, Caramoan, and of course she became like the first person. First out twice. I think they tested the waters with that. That's got to. Why else would you bring Francesca back?
But if it's a whole season of that, then you truly get some redemption because some people in there are going to make it farther.
Right. It'll be interesting because a lot of the people that went out early went out for like just bad gameplay, and some of it. You don't know if it's just because they didn't know any better and maybe they'd watched more, or maybe it's because they're just legitimately bad players. It would probably be a train wreck of a season, but for me, that's good. I don't care if everyone's playing a good game or a bad game. Like this season, I don't think anyone's playing a great game. I think a lot of people are just playing average games or above average games, but everyone's kind of on the same teal and kind of fighting each other at that same level of experience. So if you have a lot of people who, even if they're just really shitty like survivors, but they're willing to mix it up and willing to really play, that would make for a great season. So I would totally, I co-sign the first timers idea.
Agreed. I think it would be a lot of fun. All right, guys, let's move on to some plugs. Steven Konchelik, what have you got this week?
I'm stealing your plug from last week. Arrow.
Yes.
It is final episode this week. It has been building up, and I am so excited to see what they're going to do for this final episode. So if anyone out there has not watched Arrow yet, watch it on Netflix, catch up. You can do it in a weekend if you don't sleep or eat or go to the bathroom. So I highly recommend it.
I applaud your plug. Can't wait to see what happens in this last episode. Although I will say I've gotten a little tired of this season's story arc, just a tad.
Well, that's why I'm happy to see it sort of end and see the culmination of it. I hope Mirakuru doesn't come back.
I'm just not sure this show is the best at season-long arcs where every episode plays into that arc. You know what I mean? I don't know. I hope next season they find a little more balance with those kinds of things.
Yeah.
But I think it's been really, really, really awesome overall. So good stuff. Uh-oh. I think we lost Will. Power surge.
He got unplugged for his plug.
Oh no. Oh no. All right. Well, He says he's going to be back as soon as he can, but
So we can plug his linduslist.com.
That's right.
And
Well, the linduslist.com, I'm sure he's got some movie reviews coming out here on Thursday or Friday. Quick, think of some kind of weird art house movie that Will would like.
Oh God, Rainbows and Butterflies. I don't know. That's probably a movie somewhere.
Oh, all right. Well, Will may not be back before we wrap here, so I'll go ahead and go into my plug. I'm going to plug this week Star Trek: The Next Generation on Blu-ray. I just finished season 4 on Blu-ray, and holy crap, it's like watching the show like brand new. Like, I mean, you know, some of the costumes and hairstyles look dated, but I mean, the way that it's, you know, the quality is just so good, and all the effects have been redone. It
I
looks
didn't know that.
amazing. Yeah, it's so freaking good, and so I've just been enjoying the show like in a whole new way now. And in fact, I watched the end of season 4, and it ends in this cliffhanger where like Worf has gone back to the Klingon homeworld to fight in the Klingon Civil War, and I'm like, season 5 has not arrived in my mailbox yet. Damn it! But I have to watch the next episode. So I tried watching the next episode on Netflix. And oh my God, going from watching it on Blu-ray to watching it standard on Netflix, I had to turn it off. I was like, nope,
Oh wow.
I can't do it. Can't do it. Everything just looks so washed out and grainy and fuzzy and man, big difference.
That's funny.
Big difference.
That's interesting.
So if you like Star Trek Next Generation, you should totally check it out on Blu-ray, Stephen Kochella, because
I
awesome.
would. I don't have a Blu-ray player right now, so I know. I watch everything streaming now, and hopefully it's streaming in HD.
All right. Okay. Well, you get a pass. All right. Well, it looks like Will is not rejoining us for the end of the episode. Cry a little tear, Will. No.
We miss you.
We miss you, Will. But
we miss Casey.
Casey.
We're losing host Slay. They're dropping like flies.
All right, guys. Well, thanks for hanging out with us this week. For those of you who've been chilling out on the live stream, it's always great hearing from you guys. For those of you who are listening to the audio version of the show, I'm telling you, man, you're only getting half the goods. You totally need to go to the YouTube channel and check out the live stream recording, because there's some good stuff. I happen to think we are very handsome guys. I think we're.
I tend to agree.
Yeah. I'm sure Sean would agree. You know?
Exactly.
All right, everyone. Well, we are out for. We won't be here next week, but we'll be here the week after. We got to figure out what shows we're going to talk about, because stuff is wrapping up. Steven, are you watching Mad Men at all?
I started catching up the season just before this current one. So
okay.
I'm trying to catch up to the current season. So.
Gotcha. Okay. So maybe in a couple weeks, if you're caught up.
Yeah.
We'll Mad Men it. We'll see. But all right. Goodbye, everyone. See you guys.
Bye.
Yeah. Bye.